Continuing our conversation on 16 days of activism against GBV, let's go into politics. And we're joined by a politician now, Wanja. Wanja is a member of the Jubilee National Executive Committee. Hey, top there. Supremos of the Chama. Since when?
I've been in the neck of our party since 2022.
Yeah.
When we participated in the elections, but there were malpractices that denied us our well-deserved victory. It's unfortunate that I see the same malpractices being done as we head to the Thursday by elections. But we shall not allow those things to happen. And I've seen that the media is also calling out the IBC. So we hope that we'll get the winners will enjoy and the losers will be satisfied. Anything short of that will be taking us back.
Yep.
Jano.
Yes.
Give her the quote.
Let me give her the quote. Oyeronke Oyewumi, who's a scholar, gender scholar, said, "Inequality is not natural, it is organized." I'll say it again. Inequality is not natural, it is organized. I'd like you to tell us what comes to mind when you hear that, and more than that, where you see it most show its face. Inequality is not natural, it is organized.
So good morning our viewers and the viewers of Fixing the Nation. I'm happy to be here, and I'm also a fan of Fixing the Nation. So I might add that, and also to thank you for hosting our presidential candidate last week. We enjoyed the show. Inequality is not natural, it's organized. This really, it is landing already for me, because I was in South Africa just last week for the Global Inequality Summit, which was happening on the sidelines of the G20 Summit. And we realized that, in fact, they were calling it with the 99, because 99% of the world's population has very little, and then the 1% that was in Johannesburg were like super rich. So I think organized means that there are some factors that are structural that make some people poorer than others. You know, lack of education, lack of equal opportunity, the gender-based violence that you are talking about in the earlier show. So there are factors that are following each other like this that leads to the inequality, because now we'll see the women will avoid working at night, so they'll not participate in the economy at night, yet they want to make money. So it has started now manifesting in the pockets of the women. In some communities, you know, some people say, girl child amepewa opportunity sana kuliko boys. But if you travel outside of Nairobi, if you go to Kajiado, if you go to Turkana, you realize that girls will still be married at the age of 12, 13, and by the time you get the girls out of the formal education system, you have already, the chances of them recovering are almost zero. So it's the structures, it's the cultures, and the structural bad behaviors that lead to some people being behind than the others.
Yeah, that's very well captured.
Politics is a whole demon of its own. It's not for the faint of heart, especially in Kenya. I don't know, maybe in places where it's like uza sera na tutaskiza and then that's it. I would love to be there when that happens for us. But for women especially, it's an entirely different ball game.
Yes.
But over the last 15, well, since the promulgation of the Constitution, we've seen more women enter active politics. Has the ground changed in terms of, I'm looking at party membership numbers, party leadership, participation, and then now getting into government?
Have things changed?
Yes, significantly.
I would be cautious to say significantly, but I can attempt to see that the numbers are rising. In Kenya, for example, in 2013, we didn't have a woman governor. 2017, we had three.
Oh, when Waiguru,
Laboso, and maybe
Charity Ngilu.
And then Laboso passed on, may her soul rest in peace. And now in 2022, we had 7. Unfortunately, one, Kawira Mwangaza, met with political accidents, and her candidature got a small natural attrition. For the members of parliament, we have also seen a bit of increase in numbers. Also, the constitution attempted to cure the lack of women by having the woman representative seat. So in a way, we have made progress in terms of numbers. We are yet to reach the threshold, which is the 2/3. the constitution, especially the Political Parties Act, attempted to also cure that by saying that all the members of the leadership of the parties should not two-third in the leadership. There is also an establishment of a youth league, a women league, and the people with disabilities league. So there's attempts, even using the law, to have special interest groups in the politics. Are we there yet? No. Are we happy? Probably not. We could do more.
Okay.
More. We could always do more.
We could always do better. I'm wondering where the political violence for women begins. Is it at party level, community level? Is it online? Is it a combination of all of these places? Where does it really begin?
Where? So if we were to say where, because of, I think I want to talk about today's Taifa Leo, because I know it's associated with you. The big fat headline is Tukutane kwa debeni. However, all the candidates of all the major political parties are men, including all the individuals. You know, in every by-election in Kenya, there are those that have become very prominent than others. In this case, Malava, Kasipul, Magarini, where the big giants are fighting. And I also want to believe that I'm accurate to say that in all the major leading political parties that are participating in the by-elections, there's no single party that has given, or rather, the women, for some reason, they are not featuring there.
Female candidates.
Yeah, that is quite telling, because if you look at Mbere North, for example, it is the women. You know, Mbere North, one of the key front runners, Karish, is a musician. So the women have very hot songs for him. But yet they are featuring prominently in the dancing, but in the real politic, I can't see them. And probably an indicator of what awaits us in 2027. It's unfortunate. You've asked, where does the violence begin or end? I'll say it's a combination of factors. Culture. The culture has a way of putting women in their in their place somewhere near the bottom of the barrel, because they're usually telling them usimame kiti ya, as in, even if you are having a story with someone who say nataka kusimama kiti, they assume, for a woman, they assume ni woman rep ama MCA. For some reason, which is actually not factual, people assume that the MCA is lesser than the others. Yet when we participate in a general election, there are 6 elections held at the same time. So the governor is not senior to the MCA, neither is the MP senior to the MCA. It's just that people assume because it's a quote-unquote a smaller population. So yes, there is a lot of cultural biases. The online does not make anything better, because we're in the age of AI. This is the same AI that can put presidents in a coffin. This is the same AI that makes caricatures. I've always noticed that most caricatures that involve the women leaders, they either have a long nose, big lips. There is a way they are exaggerated in the cartoon to look a bit dramatic. They look like they're angry. Their hair is facing upwards. So those combination of factors, and also women sometimes they just suffer because in the politics, you know, politics, formal communication ties with the informal. There's a lot of grapevine. There's a lot of insinuations. For example, if you see this, because of this might happen. So the women sometimes they are left outside of the grapevine as we know it. So they'll go to a meeting. Have you ever gone to a meeting and you can clearly tell there was a meeting before that meeting?
Yeah.
So you are there.
There was a kitchen cabinet you were not aware of.
Kitchen cabinet.
And then now some of the participants for your meeting watasema, mine is to echo what Janet has said. So they keep echoing and agreeing. Before you know it, you are such
you're just an echo.
You're just an echo. So those are some of the challenges. But this technology is also, it's a double-edged sword, because also technology is helping women. For example, in 2027, the way the Gen Zs were holding conferences virtually, as a woman who is vying to avoid the physical violence in the ground, you can meet with your constituents virtually. So in a way, it's an enabler. But also, once it's misused, it can be used to bully the women.
But how can political parties also be safe for their members? Because I would think all these people belong to political parties, right? You are in a political party, whether it's for men and women, but in your case, we'll speak about women. What is the role of political parties in saying, by the way, here we don't tolerate name calling, we don't tolerate demonizing, we don't tolerate it against men, we don't tolerate it against women. Because I almost feel like, and I could be living in my own delusional land, if all political parties were very intentional about the kind of language that's used, even walking the journey with their candidates, making sure if it's Wanja, we make sure that if she's going for a rally, she's not going to be stoned or insulted or groped, which happens to women leaders. So what is the role of political parties when it comes to the safety of their members? Or is it just...
that's a very interesting question, and I do believe that our political party, and so is other parties, they could do more in terms of ensuring that the members are safe. But the way they say politics is local is because there are some things that happen that were not anticipated. You cannot anticipate beating and violence and chaos. It just happens that it's very clandestine how violence, how violence is organized. In most cases, in places that have been hotspots, is like even some of the police officers are accomplices. They create a small pandemonium near the middle, and then there's a tear gas that has been thrown. So in a way, it looks like they are trying to contain the crowd. Before you know it, the chairs are facing up, the tables are flying. So sometimes it's very hard to really...
A tale as old as time. 90% of the times, even when people are protesting, doing demos, whether it's finance bill, whether it's femicide, whether it's whatever, the chaos does not break out from people. It is almost always undercover police officers or police officers that start something and then now try to quell the dissent. It's such an annoying narrative. And then to see that people are being called unruly or destructive, it just... But it was so good to hear it come from you as well.
So sometimes it becomes hard even to know what's happening. Yani umepigwa na butwa because uko tu tena unaona tu vitu zinaenda haraka. But then again, sometimes I like also to hold myself and others accountable. There's always the assumption that women are victims of violence, but they can also be part of the owners of the goons, because we've seen instances like, for example, the deputy president in the Bere North by-elections, he has said that when Gachagua will go to the Bere, atamtoa nguo, nitamvua nguo, nitamfanya nini. Even though we can say that he was using figurative language, already that is a tone that is headed towards violence. So what happens is that sometimes the supporters of a particular candidate A, because they want to over-impress the leader, when you say nitakutoa nguo, so you have already given drums of war. So when you come, even if you've not sent them, they will be overly excited to do more. So you'll find that sometimes, even when they get an inkling that there's a political tension, they overdo. So they can even start violence without directing instructions of the politicals. But now that we've talked about violence, especially digital, because digital is such a weird place, I'll make a pseudo, make a funny comment, and I'm sure even journalists will face that almost every other day, and then delete it and deactivate. For me, I see the role of the owners of the technology companies. Like, for example, if I'm unhappy, who owns TikTok in Kenya? Who owns the Facebook and the X? So that now we can have them working with the women, so that if I'm bullied and a cartoon of mine is online, I want it removed now, without having to report, to send many messages to a chat bot. I don't know how it's working. So I also see the role of the owners of the social medias, but also general political hygiene, so that people now cannot perpetuate cultural norms on the ground to the social media, because it's an extension, really. They'll just say, where una bwana. So it's how they perceive women without husbands on the ground, but they take it to the social media. So they work together, long and short of it.
How long have you been in politics, Wanja?
Well, I would say I've been generally politically active since I was young. Surprisingly, when I was young, many years ago, when I was in primary school in 2002, I used to debate with my teachers. GC, I used to love politics. I used to love what's happening. So I've been generally enthusiastic about politics. But I joined a political party formally in 2013 when I was in university. And I've been remotely loving the political. Maybe not very prominent as we know it, or maybe because I don't like the politics of dancing on top of tracks. Maybe that's why I have not been prominent. But I've been generally interested in the politics of the country and of the region.
When you look at that journey, since that moment when you got into a political party and you were very much active, I'm sure you've interacted with very many women who have thrown their hat in the ring in politics, some successfully, some not so successfully. What is their one thing that they give you as feedback in terms of the challenges that they go through?
The challenges are so many to be summarized in one thing, but there are some challenges that are external, like obviously lack of money, because even when you're talking about violence, you need money to protect yourself. Now it's more or less...
Protect yourself means you also get your own set of goons.
It's like this culture of goons is like an open secret, because even when university students are doing university politics, there are also goons who are also colleagues in the university. It's like the mutual suspicion where everybody is trying to outsmart the other one who has better goons. But obviously the issue of security is really major, the issue of money, but also the bottlenecks that the women get when they are trying to navigate the political parties. So in a way, the nature of our politics is that it's a real competition. So you'll find, because of the fact that many women have not been able to get into the politics, they are not perceived to be a front runner. So some people perceive it to be a political risk to give a woman and not a man, because maybe those men have been MPs before, or they have some form of influence. Is it scientifically proven? No, because we know in our parliament the turnover is really high. So there is nothing scientific to show that a woman who is a front runner is not likely to win, and the only factor is because she's a woman. But those are the things that I see. There's also now the culture, how they are made fun of. It's like a whole balancing game between on one time you want to prove to yourself to be a leader, on the other you are told women are so emotional, so it sort of takes a toll on their emotional well-being. It doesn't help that most of our cultures, spouses and families do not necessarily support. Beyond now they can say, oh, I wish you well, but the support, the financial, the support system as we would wish, it's also a big challenge. Many women will say their spouses are not very happy with them.
So there's that level of violence, just verbal violence, in many forms, that will come and try and remove you from the field. Okay? Those that have succeeded, how did they overcome that? Or how did they respond to this kind of violence?
Those who succeeded, no, I think we also have to measure success. I've always felt like once we measure success as those who have vied and won, we miss a big point, because we have to look at the success of those who wanted to vie and they went past the party primaries to be in the ballot. Because in the last elections, where we had around 16,000 aspirants across the board, including independents, only those who are in the ballot, only 11% were women. So however much we wanted to meet the 2/3 gender rule, even if all the women won, we still would not have met it. So even as we look at those who succeeded at the ballot, we have to start asking ourselves what happened between those who had the aspiration, attempted to vie, and then they met a big roadblock from now the party primaries and the negotiated democracy to go to the ballot. I think that's a good place to also look at. Negotiated democracy is such a barrier because it's very subjective. A friend of mine participated in the negotiated democracy, and she was asked trick questions like, how many high schools are in your village? What is the name of the chiefs you wear? Trick questions. It's like, you can be asked questions where lack of an answer is inevitable. Surely, how am I supposed to know the name of all the chiefs in all the sub-locations in Gatondo? Very dramatic for failure.
Yes.
But that's it. Those who make it past the ballot, who make it to win, there's a big role of the political parties. For example, Gladys Wanga, whom I respect, and even her role she has taken in her political party, there was a lot of planning whereby John Badi, who was also very interested, at some point the negotiated democracy told Badi not to vie, because we also know that some of these political parties also have a tribal organizing. So because they come from the same region, when Badi was not given the ticket, Wanga's chances increased based on the political dynamic of the area. And then maybe the other candidate who was interested, Kidero, somehow he didn't make it. So I see the role of political parties. You've seen even someone like Nakuru. I'm told Nakuru is called Nakuru Girls because the women, the senator, the governor, the MPs, like 3, they're all women. Kadhambi, Mrembo Irene Njoki of Bahati. all of them, you can tell there's like a thread that they won using the party that won most of the seats. So I see the role of political party in wakiona mtu wako na nyota. Sijui how we measure political nyota, but the women who have a political nyota, they are now shielded from the chaos of the party primaries where everybody beats everybody, and then now they are given some form of a protection so that now they can advance. So I see the role of political parties most likely. There are those who try.
Can I interrogate that? Yeah. I'm trying to think. How do they spot the nyota? Because I would. And is it specific parties so far? Because I'm thinking, how many women have had Akoka Nyota? Lakini, there was no, and they were party members or even party leaders or, you know, significantly active, but they didn't get that kind of protection or, you know. How do you think wana measure Nyota?
Iyo Nyota, hata kumesha pia ni subjective because maybe ni ule mtu mwenye ako visible ama ule mwenye ako tu visibility. But I also now see the role of the women as well. You know, our culture has told us to be polite and kind. So the women who actually have the nyota, they don't over advertise their capacities because they want to look proper and they want to look humble. So it's a challenge also for the women to, you know, to put themselves out there. But also
somehow be visible while being invisible, you know, not to
be visible but be demure.
But be demure.
Be cute.
Be visible but be demure. I like that. So there's also that delicate dance. But I also note that some of the women who already won had gotten some form of a political platform before. Someone like Susan Keheka was a senator and a speaker. So maybe we should also make sure that women have already gotten a platform like the women rep. That's why I have a problem with the women reps who keep vying. It's a graduation, like graduate. For the affirmative action. So once you have gotten that, being a woman rep is a nyota because you've been put in a little pedestal. Now go and vie so that now we can. So I think the woman rep.
I
feel like there's an opportunity where the women who's vied, like Wanja has said, there's some people who, the Gladys Wangas of this, Millie who we had recently, who I think they've gone through everything. They've gone through the character development. Millie has talked about it, but they've also gone through some kind of, I don't want to say cushioning or protection from the late Raila Odinga, for example. If he was visibly standing with you, I don't think she's somebody who can be heckled now. She's built that rapport and credibility, but at the same time, I wonder how much more that can be paid forward. You know, to just say, maybe what we need to create is a system where you don't have to go through the madness I went through. But then Wanja is also saying sometimes in Chazwa Town or Kwa Ground or some things are, you know, come up on their own. I just wish there was a way that there could be a system created that says we don't get to grope and throw things. Like I said, at the men and women who vie. Like saying what was said to Rigathi Gachagua, absolutely not. You don't get to say that. But I don't know why that hasn't been a thing. It's like everyone for themselves. You know what I mean? Whereas I think political parties do need to do better. They can and they should.
Parties need to do better because even the IBC with the election laws, and I know you've seen the DP candidate in Bereno, their party leader, JB Moturi, wrote a letter of protest to IBC because of the political violence. Rigathi Gachagua has written a letter of protest, and I also want to believe Kalonzo, some of the leaders in the United Opposition have said that the IBC vice chairperson is biased in the Magarini seat because maybe that's her region or something. So in the ideal situation, the IBC, there should be, you see, with political bad behavior, one of the deterrents is actually a consequence, an immediate consequence to bad behavior. If you organize violence against this person, you shall not be in our ballot.
I know they find 2 candidates, $1 million shillings each for organizing, but they didn't remove them from the ballot.
But if now that consequence is done, even 1 million is a lot of money, then the others it will be a deterrent. So the IBC has a lot more to do. Right now, we've seen even there was a whole story about one of the candidates in Berenoth who has a scandal. It was in the media. If the IBC can try to bar people who do not meet the integrity chapter 6 and then people who do violence, then it will be a good place to start. Well, it is a whole cocktail of things, but also sometimes when I'm in Kenya compared to the politics of other places, I foresee instances where now women, it's called real politic, where you're dealing with things as they are. I find sometimes women approach politics from an ideal position, things as they ought to be, vis-a-vis things as they are. The truth of the matter is that even if we are trying to be very nationalistic and we want to enjoy and say I'm Kenyan, the nature of our political organizing now is along the ethnicity and regionalism. If the Gen Z who are tribeless and partyless might change, we can only wait and see, because we shall see a change in political behavior once we see the voting pattern of 2027. But for now, as it were, it's political organizing that is based on tribe and regionalism. So I foresee instances where women will be pragmatic in this way. Even though you want to change Kenya, you have first to be inside. In fact, there is a theory called the critical mass theory by one of the political theorists, and they say that for there to be meaningful change where marginalized people have never been in a space, they must be at least 30% in that group now. So for us to have meaningful change in terms of social policies, the women, we have to have a solid 30% of women who are standing on business inside of the county assemblies and in the parliament and in the Senate.
Do you think did that inform the 2/3 gender rule?
Yes, that was the main thinking behind the 2/3 gender rule. But some people have criticized and talked about quantity versus quality. But then again, one would say, who are you to measure quality? Based on what threshold? Because you cannot say, at now you are half a quality, you have a kg, one kg.
Also, if we're measuring quality, then I dare say like 90% of parliament should just go home.
Yes.
If that's the gauge.
But also now we have also seen instances where, knowing that it's a marginalized group and maybe it is just the burden of representation where you have to act twice as hard to get half the credit. There's also now what the nominated ones could do. But even in the county assemblies, even the nominated ones, as we're trying to cure the 2/3, they are also treated badly. They don't have a proper ward where they're representing. They are threatened to be removed in committees. So they don't enjoy very much. They are always afraid.
On toes.
On toes,
It all boils down to the political party. And I think this comes back into that initial question of what's the role of the political party in seeing that we have a safe space for all political players, and particularly women and persons with disability and the youth. Right? So women will face that disproportionate hill to climb in all those things that you said. The financial challenge, there will be just the violence that is thrown at them, the expectation and all. What is the role of the political party in grooming and shielding? Because if we had a proper party that was party from A to Z in terms of meaning and practice, then it would have members that it can talk to. It would have members from which it can select the budding politicians and groom them and support them. Throughout the 5 years before an election, the political party is basically just engaging youth, women, training them, coaching them, trying to pick out the ones that are good and promising in the journey of politics. So that by the time we get into an election, then you already have a pool of suitable candidates who have been indoctrinated with the doctrines and ideology of the party, but also who can get that support of the party. We don't. So political parties are just vehicles that at election time are money-making machines. You want to be to get into this, you pay for the by-election. And the one who pays more gets the tickets. And so on and so forth. So it doesn't support in pushing back. We see gender-based violence, and gender-based violence there's no cushion to stop. We are expecting the IEBC to come and stop it after. You see, IEBC will come after the fact.
After the fact.
But who comes before the fact? It's the parties.
Can I also show some data really? Again, I always like to give a disclaimer. Not that these countries are perfect. Because some of the ones I'll name, guys will be like, like Mexico. How they support women aspirants. This is according to Mexico's Constitution 2019 amendment. Parity in everything. So the law requires 50% women in all party lists. Gender unit trains aspirants, monitors violence against women in politics. Funding, parties must allocate a legally mandated share of public financing, specifically for women's leadership training, and for safety, 3 of 3 against violence. That's what they're calling it. It's a rule that blocks anyone accused of gender-based violence from candidacy.
Oh, wow.
I'll name 2 more very quickly so that we can go on with the conversation. Rwanda, constitutional quota, I think we know about Rwanda, requires at least 30% women in all decision-making bodies. That's according to the constitution. Rwanda's Women's Council offers training, mobilization networks, and support system for first-time aspirants. That's according to Rwanda Women's Council. Funding, women's councils at district and provincial levels provide small grants, campaign training, and logistical backing. And then finally, for safety, the National Forum for Political Parties enforces strict codes of conduct and penalties for harassment and intimidation of women candidates. Finally, Iceland. Hey.
Iceland.
Sasa.
Jenna, before you go to
Sorry, go ahead. Yes, you have. Have you? I
there
said no.
was a presidential candidate who ran in Rwanda, who then suffered technology-based
GBV, yes.
technology-assisted, or facilitated GBV, because essentially her nudes were leaked. So I'm just like, continue.
Yeah, but it would be interesting to know how that ended, because ideally these safeguards should be able to track and call out.
Ideally.
But yeah, finally was Iceland. Because Iceland just show up in lists. So they have a strong gender quota within political parties, yeah? Nordic Women's Lobby and National Women's Political Networks provide mentorship, policy coaching, and cross-party support. This is according to Nordic Women's Lobby 2023. Funding, public party funding is tied to gender-balanced candidate lists and includes allocations for women's political training. And then finally, for safety, specialized police units and strong legal protections against online and offline harassment of women candidates.
Can I give the example of Kenya?
Now give example of Kenya.
Okay,
on paper.
Number 1, the Constitution requires 30%.
That's true.
Not more than, actually the principle is that not more than 2/3 gender principle in all public offices, including elective offices of parliament. Number 2, funding for political parties, parliamentary political parties, has an element that should go towards promoting the minority. That is women, persons with disability, and the youth. That's one of the conditions for a party to receive funding from the government, from the state. Okay? Number 3, at the point of presenting your nomination lists, the nomination list for nominees after an election, it should have man, woman, man, woman, man, woman. It's actually the same. Number 4, in the last election, IEBC insisted on political parties making sure that from all the candidates that you are supporting, that you have supporting for election, let us have a not more than 2/3 gender. Okay, so if it's UDA out of the 1,881, if you are participating in 1,600, not more than 2/3 of that shall be of the same gender. So those like Mexico, Rwanda, Iceland, Kenya, tuko same. Tunaweza weka papa. Where do we go wrong in practice?
In practice, theory versus practice. You know, in Kenya, it's even hard to say when the rain started beating us, because it has really been beating us. But anyway, before I go into the meat of the matter, me, Rwanda, I don't understand it, because how come we are told that women are 65%, I'm a 70%, but we don't know any? Like, you know, there's a way, if you ask me about South Africa, I'll mention Winnie Mandela, Sizulu. If you ask me about Tanzania, if you ask me about Uganda, at least I remember the
Suluhu.
Suluhu Kwanza is another controversy.
Yeah, that's
She's part of the women leaders who promote violence, who is a perpetrator. But now with Rwanda, that's where I ask myself, is it an issue of quality or quantity? Me, because I don't know any.
Name 2 Male Rwandan MPs.
I don't know.
There you go. So, I mean,
It's a double standard.
And maybe we're so into sensation. Not that it's bad to know people, but I think we really are big on personalities. Maybe they're just like me on to work.
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
And probably if you went to Rwanda, you'd find that actually they know them.
Yeah.
It's maybe because we are looking for those that have been, profiled elsewhere internationally, and so on and so forth. And maybe there's the other side of the bias of the international media not wanting to show Rwanda as a democratic state.
Oh yeah, international media.
So we will not profile anyone. Tell me who is Kagame's deputy.
that I don't know. Kwanza, they
What's
even
the name
have
of
a
the Prime
prime
Minister?
minister. I don't know. Well, actually, it's a double standard, actually, even on my side. Well, but really, that said, the role of political party in grooming.
Marry me
There's a
50-50.
There's a reason why I gave the example of that female presidential candidate in Rwanda.
Yeah.
There's more at play, I think. And you are right, narratives are very strong and they can be tilted one way or another. I just also don't think it's as rosy. That's it.
In any
That's
case,
all I'm saying.
their democracy is also weird. Even in the most advanced of democracies, rarely do we see a leader winning with 98%, 97%. Surely, you can win, but at least win with 50. Then we can say that the other players are also participating. But this kind of Suluhu winning of 97, it means you have barred everybody.
Yeah.
And even in those political parties, like in Tanzania and in Rwanda, I believe, in Tanzania, all the MPs are members of CCM, apart from 2.
Yeah.
That democracy is peculiar.
Yeah.
Even in university, we used to get 50%, 60%. It's so weird to get 100, Anyway.
Yeah, we have a weird democracy and governance and leadership vacuum globally right now.
Yes.
But we can also try and find comparisons to who is trying to uphold it, not perfectly, and who is just doing very badly. But yeah, Wanja, you were
But
saying.
the role of political party in grooming and supporting budding leaders, I think also our nature of political organizing is quite peculiar. The other day, ODM, they were celebrating their 20th birthday. And by the way, our party leader is also, Uhuru Kenyatta is also a founding member of ODM. Now, ODM, if you look at it, major political parties in the current political dispensation, ODM is the oldest. And the oldest is the one that is celebrating 20 years. KANU is an independent party, but if you look at the number of representatives, it doesn't feature at about top 5, top 10. So you compare our political behavior in somewhere like South Africa, ANC is celebrating 113 years. In other countries, even Uganda, even CCM, you can tell that they have quite a lot of structures. So I think one of the challenges that we face is just how our political parties change quite a bit. Even when we are naming our political parties, I think people walk to the office of ORPP in Westlands, they just guess names. Ukisema ati United Republican, unasema hiyo imechukuliwa. Unasema United Democrat, hiyo imechukuliwa. United Progressive. It's like how we name political parties.
Yeah.
Because when you see a political, like for example, URP, which was the party that the current president was a member, URR was the Republican, but now his political party is UDA, Democrat. In proper countries, the Democrats, it's very hard to move from a Democrat to a Republican within 5 years.
Those are foundational issues.
It's like day and night. Then you'll see a party like ANC. ANC for Musalia was the party that he vied with. I think he was UDF. Then he became ANC, but now it's nowhere. So it means the young people who had tried to grow into those structures are also nowhere because the party dissolved.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say that our political organizing is so peculiar because political party keeps dissolving, forming, nini. And then in other countries, like for example, South Africa, you can tell that because of the structures, there's continuous improvement and continuous training. In Kenya, political party, it's like they are seasonal. During the election, we have the branding, the posters, and then once the elections are over, also parties go down. Unless now an MCA dies, where we have by-elections like this time, or something tragic happens, and then now we shall see them being active in 2026. I think that is just a culture across all political parties. Number 2 is just our problem with regionalism and tribalism, where, I mean, if you're in Kisumu and you throw a stone in the county assembly, you are likely to hit an MC who is a Luo. Not to say that the laws are bad, but if you really look at political parties that are in other countries like ANC or CCM, it's like a party that is national in its very nature. So I feel like those are some of the problems with our political software. I don't know if you can change it, but the chances of winning with another party that is more popular for your tribesmen, they're also quite minimal, if at all. Well, that said, I think you have also asked the role of the IEBC. In fact, what Eric has alluded to was a court case. What happened is that when the political parties submitted their list of aspirants, IEBC said, go and make sure that the aspirants 2/3. Then the political party said, now where will I get the 2/3? Because political participation is voluntary. So if it is 10 women that have 10 men that have presented themselves in Nairobi, what will you do to get the other 5 women who have not said they want to vie? So now that's when we talk about the issues that made the women not even make it to the party primaries.
Right.
It's such a big challenge because sometimes the political parties are tied in the sense that there are instances where women do not present themselves, but it could also be cured by those examples Janet has read for us. Training, gender units, such kind of things, where now we'll get both men and women to vie. But also something else that should be studied widely. Once a woman was a nominated candidate, a woman or MP or senator or an MP, and then they lose, the chances of them winning again are almost zero. But when the men lose, they keep losing and winning. So it's like the game is rigged. Like you struggled so much to win, but once the tide turns the other time,
it's permanent.
It's permanent.
Could that be a factor of how many trials you get? Because I'm thinking also about resourcing, and a lot of candidates, men and women, are usually on their 3rd try. You know, by the time they're clinching an election. So I'm thinking through, if a woman is nominated, loses her seat, or vies for something elective, and she loses, I think she's likely to stop at that. The difference is I think the men will keep trying.
Yeah.
And I think it could be a factor of resourcing and things like that. But just because anecdotally from politicians, when you talk to them, it's usually the 2nd or 3rd try.
Where they clinch it.
Yeah, that will be
I also think women candidates would need community, strategic. Again, I think of Amuja Initiative. I know she's able to do this because she was the former president, right? Ellen Sirleaf. But even watching it and seeing it in real time, seeing what she does with, so it's women in Africa who want to have political seats. What they focus on is training, strategic communication support, and they mobilize resources. They also have safety and solidarity, and it's the first initiative of its kind, and it has given rise to a lot of the people, some of the women that we see enjoying political office across the continent, including Gladys Wanga. She was part of Amujai.
Yeah.
And I think that community, and I remember, I think, speaking to an opposition leader in Zimbabwe at the time, and I'm like, how does it, she said an example is, I was being like ripped apart in the media.
Yeah.
You know, I was being ripped to shreds, and you know, with women, if you're in politics, they come for your body, they come for your family, they come for everything. And so she breaks down, and these guys ask her, what do you need? And then apparently one of them said, no, she needs courage. So how do we give her courage? And they mobilized round a Zoom, and they said, okay, what do you need? And they started working her back from there. And she said, it's the reason I'm able to be in this room today talking to you, because I was going to hide in my room for the rest of the year. That kind of community, I wish there was some kind of platform
for that.
There
that
are
existed.
platforms.
Okay, so yes, Eric.
Because we're
Jubilee Party here
Yes.
has a platform, I'm sure,
Yes.
that is called the Women's what?
League.
There you go. Okay? What is the Women's League in the Jubilee Party?
Okay, quick. Just,
And what
there's
does it
also
do?
2 quick questions that I want to ask from there. But Tuambia Kwanza Women's League.
Women's
Yeah.
League.
Also, because we only have like 4 minutes. But
Okay.
go ahead.
Kwani
So-
time is running.
I know, Inakim.
In terms of, because my argument is that political parties should be compelled,
Yes.
and by and large, actually, by the Political Parties Act and
They
by
are.
very many, they are compelled to work hard
Yeah.
at ensuring there is equity in their party,
Right.
and promoting the marginalized, among them, women.
Yeah.
So political parties have women leagues. This is not the first one. Even KANU had a women's league. What is the
Maendeleo
role?
wanawake.
What is the role? Maendeleo was not a political party thing. It was a Kando.
But it was co-opted.
Yes. But what is the role of the women's league in this
In a
political?
political party, yeah. So the Women League in our political party, I would say that they are very, very active, and especially the fact that our elections outcome in 2022 was not as we would have wished. We have really done a lot. We are now putting, they are told if you don't catch the fish, you start now when you go back home, you don't just sleep, you start fixing your net. So we are fixing our net. Some of the things we are doing we will not tell publicly because they are really high political voltage and people will steal our strategy. But we are really planning. And by the way, our political party, we have the MP of Bahati. As we are talking about Nakuru girls, the MP of Bahati is one of our Nakuru girls. We have also seen even our party leader being very keen on the issue of the youth. I know you followed our NDC. He was very keen on the youth. Our deputy party leader, Beatrice, is a woman. Our party has actually made the 1/3 and 2/3. Well, that said, I believe we can always do more.
Okay.
So with the partners and with the people who, and now by the way, because of the USAID and the change in the donor landscape, the way Eric said that political party must fund some of the special interest, it is now time to fund them, because in the past there has been reliance on the donors and the development partners, but because things have shifted, they have now to look for the budget. But Janet, we've talked about the Amujai organization that I believe is owned by Salif Johnson.
Yeah.
But also for me, I see it as the question is around mentorship. Millie Odhiambo, when she talks about the group of the black dress and little bad girls.
Yes.
You know, she even mentored. There's a time we were invited by the Kewopa and she was like our mentor. So she was guiding us and all. I see the role of mentorship being very keen, so that the women can move from idealist politics to learning the practicals, but also the women movement. And that's why sometimes I call for looking inwards. It's like the black people in America. One of the things you note is that you expect the black people will be together and they love each other because they are marginalized and they are put somewhere in the corner. However, they are not as loving amongst each other, and here's why. It's like if you're black and marginalized, you are trying very much possible to be near the whiteness. If you're disabled but not too disabled, you are trying very much to be near able-bodiedness. If you're, for example, the women, and we know the big issue, when we talk about everything, the big issue is social norms and patriarchy. So you'll see there are women who ideally should have gotten this political feminism, standing with each other, not pushing the bullying. However, because of the very nature of the catty competition, you'll find that the women whom ordinarily should be mentors, they are also not mentors. And I think that's cuts across many sectors, because it's a whole cocoon of politics. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the women are very keen to mentor others.
It's like easier to play the game as is than to try and shift. Just because of time, I have to interrupt you. Just because of time, I have to interrupt you. I just wanted to ask you a quick one. Charles Ndungu says Uhuru was advised by the then CG Maraga to dissolve parliament due to the gender rule issue. He didn't act. Has Jubilee changed its tune on this issue with him as party leader? Also, what's Jubilee's position on the current size of parliament and NGCDF and NGAF and the Senate Oversight Fund, I suppose, being entrenched in the constitution? In just a minute or less, if you can.
The Maraga issue is very interesting. At the time when he was talking about dissolution of the parliament, he had nullified our victory around 2 years before. So
just have a look at the camera as you answer, so that we can hear. The microphone.
The microphone. Yes. So yes, there was such kind of an advisory. Maraga did not say that we should dissolve the parliament. He gave an advisory. But as you know, Kenyans are litigious. Before he finished the sentence, there were some people in court. Some MPs say you cannot punish us for the mistakes outside of us. The speaker, on the other hand, and JB Moturi has written a book, and he has said sometimes you work with what you have. Under the political circumstances at the time, knowing that we are headed towards the next election, it didn't look very practical to have new elections. Our position when it comes to issues of the NGCDF, and we know that those are issues in court, because even though the court ruled that it should be done with by 2026 June, they are still NCDF have gone to court. So for it's very hard sometimes to have a firm position on matters that are being litigated. Some people will say that kama sio CDF mtoto wangu angeenda high school. These are the Kenyans. So wengine wanasema the work of the MP is representation, not implementation. Those two people are right.
Yes.
Because in a country where people are yet to meet their material needs, mtu akinipea check ya 10,000 atakuwa amenisaidia sana. So sometimes
you were there for me when no one else was.
Yes, CDF ndio imetujengea police station hapa, and then on the other side unajiuliza if the MPs are using CDF as their pocket money, because inakaa pocket money ya MP, because even in a proper system, education should be free for all. I should not thank the MP for giving me a bursary. So the issue of CDF, it depends on where you look at it. When you talk like 10,000 sikitu, they'll say, unajua wewe uko mdosi, auelewi mambo ya watu wa chini, wewe nyamaza. CDF ndio inatusaidianga. If you see a woman giving a testimony that mtoto wake angemaliza form 4 juu ya CDF, you see that person is talking something.
Sounds like you're pro-ish CDF, but
it's being litigated. You cannot have a firm position, but obviously we respect the courts here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wanja.
Thank you,
for
Janet.
coming and just talking to us and shedding light. All the best as we go into this season. All the best to you.
Asante.
You know, going into Thursday and also ahead.
Yeah.
Also,
just to wish our candidate, we have a candidate in Narok.
Okay.
Our candidate in Mbeere North was a person with a disability, but there was this whole issue of the united opposition. And also to say, let's keep breaking the silence on the GBV.
Yes.
We've seen Mike Sonko publicly defending his daughter.
Yeah.
So let's break the silence.
Let's break the silence.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mariam Bisha, Eric Latif, Janet Bogo, Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time. Last word with you tonight at 9:30. Eric Latif. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good one.